If you've ever considered moving out of the United States or Canada down to the Caribbean, specifically maybe the Dominican Republic, which is where I live, then I'm gonna give you the raw and honest truth about what life is like living here in the Dominican Republic. I'm answering a series of questions sent by many of you about everything from the cost of certain things like school and gym memberships, all the way up to what's missing and necessary for even a better life here in Punta Cana, where I am, and really DR overall. And before we get started, I have a message for the trolls. I'm gonna move my camera angle to the troll angle. Trolls, hear me. I know that I'm an expat living in the Dominican Republic. I know that the average income of a Dominican national in the poor bracket is about $400 a month. They're not watching my channel. I'm speaking to people like, maybe not you, but others out there that have the desire to have a parallel life in the Dominican Republic or the Caribbean in general. So if you think you're going to get me or make a point about the fact that there are people here that make very little money, just save it. Just go to there's other channels, or make one. Talk about the white dude is wrong, and let's just leave each other alone. Okay? All right, back to non-troll view. Been a lot of trolls lately. I just needed to get that out of my system. We can progress. Let's start with the nitty-gritty questions. The first one, how much is the gym membership out there? I'm guessing that means here where I am, but we'll go with it. Thanks to Ed Wins They Lose for asking that question. Great handle. There's a range here. On the low end, from gyms that you would probably want to attend, there's a Gold's Gym, sort of in Punta Cana, just on the outskirts of it, getting into what's an area called Verón. And that's about $40 per month from what I can tell. It's a fully equipped gym, 2 stories. We started at that gym. That was the first gym we went to. In the mid-range, there's a gym inside of an area called Downtown Mall. And in Downtown Mall, Body Shop Studio is, if you paid monthly, $80 per month. Now, mine would have been $50 per month, because when we were members there, we paid for the whole year up front, and they give you a discount for that. So like $600, I guess, for the year, somewhere in that range. And that would, if you divide by 12, be $50 a month. Now, the gym I'm at right now is Body Shop Studio also, but it's their mother gym or whatever. There's multiple in the country here, and this is their hub. So membership to this one means I can go to any of them. Whereas the other one I just told you about, the $80 a month, but you can pay full year, that only gets you that gym. You can't go to all the other Body Shop Studios. The one in Blue Mall here in Punta Cana, I pay $250 a month. What? What? Sit down, people. Some of you are like, what, are you crazy? Here's what that includes. That gives me the entirety of the gym. That gives me all of the classes. That gives me a health and nutrition assessment quarterly. It gives me monthly body scans. And this is the biggie, I get 12 personal training sessions per month. So for those of you freaking out, let's break it down. If the gym is, say, $50 a month and you all think that's more than fair, you understand it's a more expensive area in Punta Cana. That means $200 is dedicated to the trainer. So if we do a little crazy math and we take 200 and we divide that by 12, that means I'm paying $16.67 US for a personal training session. I want you to tell me where in the United States you're paying your trainer $16. I'm gonna wait. Still waiting. You can't, okay? So $250 goes a long way here. Yes, it's expensive by some standards because all people hear is the top line number, but it's what I get. I don't need to pay $250. And by the way, now I'm gonna freak people out even more. I only pay that much because we paid for the entire year. That's right, we dropped $3 grand for me, $3 grand for my wife right around Black Friday when they had a special for 20% off. So that is the best price you can get. If it went up, it would be about $50 or $60 more per month. Still probably like $21 a session. Not crazy, but you get the point. You can do it any way that you want. There's not a $10 a month Planet Fitness down here. We would have done that, honestly, but we've kind of valued the idea of the higher end gym, having higher end clientele. Therefore, I've met some really, really cool people, and I'm a big who you surround yourself with guy. I believe in investing in my network. I pay 20 grand a year to be a part of a community called GoBundance. I'll wholeheartedly endorse it. I'm a partner with them in a business, the people that founded it, but this is a bunch of entrepreneurs that get together and hold each other accountable to big goals. And I believe that my entire life, my move to the Dominican Republic, all of it is fully fueled by the fact that I'm amongst those people. That's my outlook on life, doesn't need to be yours. Next question is from Adam Tiziz. I think that's it. How much would an average man spend on food in Punta Cana living by themselves? I have no idea. because I'm an above average man. Okay? You can't ask an above average man what an average man would spend, but I'll entertain it. I mean, a lot of this is gonna depend on your diet, but let me give you some sense of food pricing. We just went and got 30 eggs from like a local boutique grocer / farm. So these are like certified organic, farm fresh, the whole nine. We had them delivered, those 30 eggs. In total, that cost me $12. Now in the States, that's probably still a good price, but it might still feel high, and it is here. Again, we all have our choices. I'm big on my time is money, and delivering the eggs is sometimes better than me having to run out and get them. If I went to the store, I could probably get those same 30 eggs for a few dollars less, probably $7 or $8. Maybe even less depending on the store you go to. It depends on where you decide to shop. My wife and I went out and did food shopping amongst 5 or 6 different stores. That's a video, I'll link it down below. I might even put it at the end of the video for you to see it. But we compared prices on a few different products. I think it was like paper towels, meat, rice, like toothpaste, and something else. And what we found was this. On the low end is Olé. Olé is gonna be your cheapest overall, and that is in Verón, Punta Cana area. If you live over there, amazing. If you don't, pain in the ass to get in and out of because of traffic. On the high end is a place called Unidos, and Unidos was about probably double, if not a little bit more, what we would have paid at Olé. But right in the middle of that was sort of a mix of Nacional, Jumbo, and another place called La Sirena. Locally, La Sirena had less options, so we'll go with Nacional and Jumbo being kind of competitive, and I live right by Nacional. For me right now, I'm eating full carnivore, which means I eat animal products and meat. That's pretty much it. That is it. Never mind pretty much. I don't eat any vegetables. I don't eat any rice. I don't eat any beans. I don't eat anything other than meat or something that came from an animal. Standard diet, morning, 4 eggs, afternoon, ribeye, dinner, ribeye, snack, cheese. Fact, right here. Little mozzarella medallions. So that's how I eat. Some of you are gonna get a little nutty with like, you know, oh, your heart, like, save it. You'll see I'm doing a whole release on something health related. And I'll prove to you that this isn't hurting me, but that's for another day. My point is, it's gonna depend on your diet. I think if I had a ballpark it, my family of 4 spends probably $1,000 to $1,200 US per month on groceries. Again, I eat a lot of meat, that's more expensive. If you buy American products, those are more expensive because they're imported. I think that an average male, which I'll try to relate to, probably would spend $200 a month. I think that's a fair amount, maybe $250. Say between $200 and $300 for the average male in Punta Cana, depending on diet, and go up or down. We eat out probably too much, but for context, look, we eat out a good amount and we still spend $1,000 to $1,200 at the grocery store every month. Or like I said, Olé, but we just go with what's convenient, and you know, we're blessed to be able to do so. And I think a lot of people watching resonate with that. Let's have another piece of cheese. Next question is also from Adam Tiz. He says, do local Dominicans speak English? The answer, I would say, is surprisingly yes. And I don't mean surprising that locals speak English, but the amount that do. And for me, if you're not familiar with me, my wife and I have been married for almost 15 years. We've been together 16. She's Dominican, grew up in a town called Higüey until the age of 12 before immigrating to the United States. We moved down here in 2022 with our 2 young sons. They're 9 and 6 at the time of this recording, who are half Dominican. So I've been coming here for a long time, and I've seen the progression of the country. When I first came here, you get it at the resorts. English was there, obviously. Get off the resort maybe a little, but you get inland, nada. I don't speak much Spanish, and the reason for that, honestly, is because English is so widespread. I actually am surprised by how many people say I'm concerned about moving there because I don't speak Spanish. And I'm like, oh God, that's like on a list of 100 things that I would worry about, that's like 175. I've been in Higüey, I've been in little towns around the country. I mean, you'd be shocked how much English is spoken. I actually Googled it, and the statistics really low. It's like 0.01% of Dominicans speak English, but I'm telling you right now, English has become more and more widespread here. And I don't know that's a good thing, but I'm just explaining, yes, a lot of locals speak some level of English. And I always love it when they say, I only speak a little bit of English, and then they ramble on in English like they're not good at it. And I'm like, dude, you're killing me because I can't do even half of that in Spanish. It's no excuse for me. I need to learn it, but yeah, there's more widespread English now than ever, and more than maybe many expect. It doesn't mean it's everywhere, trust me. There's plenty of situations I get into where the little Spanish I do speak does help me. I can at least navigate my way through different words and phrases and maybe pointing at things, but you'd be shocked by the amount of English spoken and by who speaks it. Along this line, Yara P. Mendoza asks, are your kids fluent in Spanish? If yes, was that contributed to living in DR? Oh, the answer is 1000%. It's by living here. My kids didn't speak a lick of Spanish back in the States. When we lived in Boston, which is where my wife and I met, that's where her mother, her sister, and a few other relatives live, and they lived in a town called Lynn, which is all very, very Spanish, a large Spanish population. In fact, many people can exist there without speaking English. We all know towns like that around the country in the United States. But our first son, who's now 9, was born there, and actually his first few words were Spanish. Remember, he would say aga instead of agua, but that was how he asked for water, aga. And he had some other words, like Spanish, he would respond to both languages early on because we were surrounded by that. When my wife and I decided we're moving to Michigan for my then day job, we had our oldest kid and our second kid was born there. We live in a town that's 96% white. In fact, it was hard to find plantains there for a while. So there was just not the Spanish surrounding us, and people say like, oh, just speak to your kids in Spanish, and I know that's great, but for my wife it was exhausting. Everything else is English, and then she's trying to speak Spanish to them, and she just gave up, and I don't blame her. So our boys spoke no Spanish coming down here. Now here's what's more. The schools that they go to, of which there are at least 7 in Punta Cana, are bilingual. They're bilingual, mostly English, because locals want their kids to learn English, but there's 2 subjects that are spoken or taught in Spanish. Sociales, which is like social studies for the country, and Spanish. Spanish language is the other class spoken in Spanish. Makes sense. Between that and then playground, going to soccer or whatever, the kids playing, like my younger one who was 4 when we moved here, he picked it up like that. Now, in fairness, his 4-year-old classroom was all Spanish, and then once he turned 5, the next grade, it went to English. They learned English, and it was all English. But still, like, he picked it up. Boy, a month or 2, the kid was speaking Spanish, and by month 3 or 4, it was like fluent. It was crazy. The older one took a little longer for 2 reasons. One, he didn't have that same immersion as the first one, but still, within 6 months, he was communicating. But more than that, when we moved here, we told them both we're gonna do this for 1 year. So my then 7-year-old, now 9, soon to be 10-year-old, pretty much made the decision like, well, I mean, I'm not gonna make any effort on this Spanish language thing. And when we decided to stay longer, it took a little bit of convincing with him, and I think his way of getting back at us a little was to suppress his Spanish. Now, how do I know he speaks it? When he needs something from our housekeeper, Isabel, it's like, huh? I can't even keep up with the kid. I asked her yesterday, as a matter of fact, like, how's his Spanish? How's his Spanish? She's like, perfect. So he speaks it. He picked it up in soccer. I hear him yelling on the soccer field at the referee, at the coach, at the other players. They both speak perfect Spanish. But yeah, it was after we moved here. I'll admit this, our older one is still working on Spanish reading comprehension. He can read it, like he'll fly through reading it, but then like ask him what it said and it takes him a minute to think about it. Not the same in English. In English, he can read it and comprehend it like right away, but you know, great schools, we're working on it. Soldier for Life 01, if you're a veteran, thank you for your service, says, is renting versus buying a good option in DR? Absolutely, either are good options. Here's what we did, and then you can take from this. We rent, even to this day, we rent our current home because we moved short term and decided not to sell our house in the States, which we have equity in, and we could apply that down here. We have money we could invest here, but mortgages are expensive. So for us, we want to buy something in place. We don't want to buy pre-construction. And that means you have to get a mortgage versus financing with a developer. So we've decided to be a renter for now, unless and until we sell that house and then build or buy down here our sort of permanent home. But I would say if you're looking at making the move and you're considering it, it's like, man, you know, we could do it. We make a remote income, or we can, or even if it's like we can move there and I have to travel back once a month, like a lot of people do that here. They have to travel back for work like 1 week a month. I don't think it's a bad idea not only to rent for a while, but especially to rent initially. So we got an Airbnb for 2 months in an area called Cana, and we learned that we didn't want to live in Cana. It's beautiful, it's safe, it's all of that, but it's more resort and visitor and tourist or vacation home owner than it is community and neighborhood for kids and families. But I'm glad we did that. If we said, oh, we're all in, we're gonna buy there, we'd be like, crap, now we're kind of stuck in a place where there's no other kids around. So by doing that for 2 months with Airbnb, we paid about $5,000 each month to Airbnb, which, hey, worth it for us. We were able to explore the area and learn where we wanted to live, and we settled on a place called Punta Cana Village because it's walkable to everything, grocery stores, restaurants. There's our doctor's office right in the middle of the village here, and the mindset and the types of people that live here are the ones that we want to be surrounded with and we want our kids surrounded with. Now, rents can range. Where I am, they range from probably $2,500 on the low end to, God, $7,000, $8,000 on the high end. You talk about like a 4-bedroom home that's unfurnished, you're probably in the $3,500 to $4,500 US a month range. But you can go down from there. There's other communities around here that you can rent for probably not less than $1,000 for a house anymore. Some people think you can. If you're getting less than $1,000, it might not be a neighborhood you want to live in, but there are some where you can get $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a month for like a full house. Less for an apartment, but renting's a great option. It really all depends on how well you know the area and do you know exactly where you want to settle. K Lorette01 asks, what do you think Punta Cana is missing to be a complete city? There's one big thing, and I'll share it in a moment, but there's a few smaller things just to give you an idea of living here. In Santo Domingo, there's something called Price Mart. Call it Costco or Sam's Club. It's the exact same thing, a price club, a wholesale discount price club. That's not here yet, although I've heard that it's coming. When it comes to certain goods that you're trying to buy, like electronics or whatever, there's some here, but like often you have to go to Santo Domingo or order on Amazon to get some of it. So more of a robust sort of retail network here would be amazing. And structurally, there needs to be additional roads, additional lights, more traffic controls, more infrastructure overall. But lack of those things doesn't make it an incomplete city. To me, what makes it an incomplete city is a top-notch level 1 medical facility. Now look, there are great doctors here. In fact, we go to one called Punta Cana Doctors. They have a bunch of specialties there, cardiologists, endocrinologists. I had my colonoscopy done there by a gastroenterologist here in the Dominican Republic. Great service. Whenever we're sick, we go there. That's kind of our primary care physician, although that's not a thing here because you just go right to whatever specialty you want. That's the best equivalent I can make to the States. And then from there are 3 hospitals in the area, one of which I like, the other 2 not so much. They're all private clinics. I prefer Centro Medical Punta Cana. There is a trauma ward at a place called IMG. I just think IMG gouges on pricing, so just be mindful of that. Like the dollars seem to be more important than the care there. That's just my beef. And then there's Hospitan, which again is another private hospital. There's also a public hospital in Verón that's new, and I've heard actually some people have gone there and they said just as good as the private experience, maybe because it's new and there's a lot of attention on it. But day to day, the level of services that are needed don't exist. So for instance, when I had my colonoscopy, it was done every Saturday. The anesthesiologist came from Santo Domingo, like she's based in Santo Domingo and comes here. The dermatologist that I use locally, who's awesome, the dermatologist and the dermatologic surgeon, I think that's how you say it. They're both great, but they both, I think, come back and forth from Santo Domingo. Our kid's allergist, there's one here, but not like allergist, like they have like a little allergy training or whatever, but ours is in Santo Domingo. And that's a guy that was educated at Columbia and worked in New York for like 20 years. So like I said, there's top-notch doctors. I don't think there's a level 1 trauma ward here. And if it is, it's IMG, which if you live in Cap Cana, Punta Cana, which is your highest end neighborhoods in the area, it's a hike to get there. So honestly, what I think this area needs is a top-notch medical center with full-time doctors, specialties, the best you can find in country. They need to be incentivized to live here, and I believe it needs to be around the airport, around Punta Cana. 911 works in the country. You see the ambulances locally, not all over the country, but locally are like nice new ambulances. People move out of the way for them. Like all of that exists, but like the hospital, like the one, you got to go to Santo Domingo for. In fact, a lot of insurance plans here give you airlift coverage to either Santo Domingo or Miami, depending on, you know, what specialty it might need. But I think either is probably equally good. But Punta Cana with a top-notch, high-end, level 1 trauma center, all specialties, the best of the best here, that to me is the complete city thing that's needed. All right, Billy15_M says, do you have any idea about the cost per year of the Ashton School in Vistacana? Well, Billy, you're in luck. Of course I do. I'm gonna flash it up on screen here and show you the tuition listing for this year. And I can tell you for my kids, it will be about $10,350 for 5th grade and about $8,500 for a 2nd grader, which is my kids next year. Little history on this. Ashton School is a top-notch private school in Santo Domingo. They're highly regarded. I've never heard a bad word spoken of them. And they're opening a 2nd campus here locally in Punta Cana, specifically in a place called Vistacana with like a FIFA approved soccer field, futsal courts, library, like a full-on It's beautiful. I went there and checked the construction right now. And we've looked at it. We're always looking at the different schools, and I think Ashton School is top notch. Now, the one thing to know is the 3rd kid, if you have a 3rd kid, there is a discount. I don't know how much, but 2 kids no, 3rd kid yes. And if you're deciding to enroll this coming year, 2025 in September, you're considered a founding member, and therefore all the prices that you see in that guide are 10% off. And every year you'll get 10% off of whatever the tuition is that it becomes year after year. Usually goes up annually, and it's usually higher the older the kid gets. If I can attach it down below, I think it might be a PDF, I will, but if not, just pause the video and you can see the pricing. Now, Arturo Abreu asks a good question. If I had to live elsewhere in the Dominican Republic, where in Puerto Plata would it be? A little presumptive, don't you think? Arturo Abreu, why is it Puerto Plata? Did you mean Dominican Republic? Was there a little bit of a Freudian slip there? I mean, what makes you think that I would just instantly, the other place would be in Puerto Plata? So the other place would be in Puerto Plata. I would move to specifically Cabarete, which is in Puerto Plata province. I wouldn't move to the city of Puerto Plata. Cabarete, because it's also a beach town. It's a little sleepier than Punta Cana in that way. It's less tourist, more like snowbirds that stick around for a while. Good expat community, great local community. They have some good schools up there, and the infrastructure's okay. It's nowhere near the level of Punta Cana. See what I just did? Dominican Republic is Punta Cana. See, I could do it too. But that would be my number 2 in my situation with a wife and 2 boys, 2 kids. That would be my second choice. Other places I would look at, Las Terrenas is great, but it just doesn't have the access to everything you need. Like, it's kind of a one-horse town. There's one of everything, and then you got to drive over a mountain to get out of it to do anything. Whereas Cabarete is right by Puerto Plata, it's not far from Santiago. You have airports and other options. I love Piantini. The reason I don't have it like right here, I think in another video I said that's my number 2, but my wife would never. She would never want to live in a city. We lived in downtown Boston for years before kids. Now, no way. So, but I think Piantini is a great choice, especially if you're single or don't have kids. Amazing spot. Anywhere in Santo Domingo, the middle. Gascue, Piantini, Bella Vista, Naco, Casi Casasas. I can't remember the name of that. Casi Cascas. Whatever the hell that is. Those areas, there's a lot of space in the middle of Santo Domingo that are great, but it's urban traffic, all that crap. People ask about La Romana. It's not my spot. I'm just not a fan of it. I've never been, not as long as I've been coming here. It's not any shade on them, but there's Casa de Campo, there's a Jumbo, and it's kind of little restaurants, but it's kind of a chaotic city. I believe its best attribute is it's between Santo Domingo and Punta Cana, so I'm like, why not just go to one or the other? Same with San Pedro, although you can live really cheap in those 2 places. Jarabacoa is interesting to me. I would live there, but not after having lived on the beach, meaning it's in the middle of the mountains. It's great, but I kind of want to be near the beach if I'm living in the Caribbean. And then of course, Santiago is another city. I think Santiago is great if you've lived or are from Santiago, your family's from there. Some people move there and love it, but most people say, it's kind of landlocked. It's kind of sleepy. They want to be near the beach. And while highways are being built to get it faster access to the beach, it's still a haul. So it's not a city that I usually endorse as like, I would move there, unless you've got some tie there, or maybe your specific situation matches with the lifestyle in Santiago. Probably some other places, but my number 2 would be Cabarete all day. I'm gonna do some investing questions, and this one's from Alex Newell 13. She says, if you were to buy anywhere in the DR right now, where would it be and why? Okay, there's 2 ways to answer this question. Me, Punta Cana, because my life is there. But if I zoomed this out and said, okay, where's a spot that I would say to somebody who's just like, hey, I'm wide open. I just want to put my money somewhere and watch it grow. I want to be on the cutting edge, on the front end of whatever it might be. This is 1000% simple for me. Buy land in Miches. Look, Miches is 2 hours from Punta Cana, up and kind of over. It's south of what's called the Samana Peninsula. So there's like a bay in between the upper peninsula and then the kind of the whole of Dominican Republic, and there sits Miches. There's some great beaches there, in particular Playa Esmeralda, and that beach is getting some ballers coming in. Hilton's building there. Four Seasons is building there. In fact, I know the developer. Secrets just opened there. Dreams just opened there, and there's more coming in. In fact, there's a project that I'm aware of that's about to come out. Not even a resort type of thing. That's just gonna be amazing. Miches to me, in fact, stay tuned for that. Miches for me is the next frontier, and to add fuel to that fire, and this is fairly good rumor, an airport is very likely to be placed there, and from what I understand, Grupo Punta Cana might be the ones to place the airport. Why is that significant? Grupo Punta Cana owns Punta Cana Airport, which is the largest airport in the country, very modern, very well run, and expanding. So if that group who knows how to run an airport gets the contract to build an airport in Miches, by the way, they're really well connected to the powers that be. You got an airport, you've got these incredible communities popping up. I mean, look, the Four Seasons, the residences there that are being built, they start at like $4 million. It's insane. Then there's also the resort hotel, which is probably gonna be $1,500 to $2,000 a night just to stay there. Like, you're talking another level of luxury, and those folks are going to want amenities, golf courses, you name it. An airport is a game changer. A lot of people are gonna throw out, don't sleep on this, Pedernales and Las Carreras, I get it all. You ask me where I would, if it was carte blanche, just buy land in Miches and wait. I don't know why I did three things, but it's one thing. Buy land in Miches and wait. Just do that. That's my recommendation. Next question comes from Easy Fix. Check out that image on Easy Fix's profile. Damn.
Watch your tone, boy. boy.
In DR, does it matter which political party is in power when it comes to real estate investing? Maybe. So here's the way I would break it down. There are three prevailing parties in the Dominican Republic. We'll throw it up on screen here, Dan, if you don't mind. First is the PRM, which is the current party in power. Luis Abinader is the president, and that's who we got. PRM is going to be mostly investor friendly, kind of pro-business, transparent. They want to expand and grow, and they're going to funnel money into government. In fact, you see it. The criticisms they have is not investing in infrastructure in the less affluent areas and being very active in attracting tourism and building and development in places like Punta Cana and so on. So PRM, I believe, is investor friendly. PLD is the next party, and they are generally pro-business. So, I mean, they're not, I think it's a good environment if there's a PLD's in power. Good environment overall for investors, but there might be a little bit more red tape, bureaucracy, a little bit more tax risk, that sort of thing. And then there's the FP, which is Leonel Fernandez was the president like 7 different times with the FP. And there's a lot of people that are very loyal to him. In fact, many would say that the infrastructure we have right now in the Dominican Republic, while it's gotten like its attention under Abinader, it was really put in place by Fernandez. And that group is probably a little bit more nationalist. Like, hey, let's take care of our own, let's do our thing. And they'd be more inclined to say, we don't need people like me in this country. So regulations and taxes and that sort of thing for foreign investment could become a thing if the FP is in power. That's just my take. I'd love to hear other people's take, drop it down below. But overall, I don't think there's any that are like anti-business or anti-foreign investment. There's not anything that says like, oh my God, if this party takes power, run. If anything, it's just varying degrees of like, okay, this is how it will be done here, this is how it will be done there, this is how it will be done there. But the current party, the PRM, is probably the easiest, if you will, to invest from a foreigner's perspective here in DR. Cigar Smoke 7 asks, what do you think about Vistacana, thinking about buying a property there? I think Vistacana is the future of Punta Cana. I think Punta Cana Village, Cap Cana, Cocotal are all there. They're all going to be there. They're all great. I think Vistacana will be as well. I think Vistacana made a big move by getting Ashton School to come into Vistacana to make that less of like what felt like a bunch of apartments and condos and Airbnbs to now like a residential community with really the one school in the area. Well, one of the schools where their business is school. They're not like, well, you know, they're part of Cap Cana or they're part of Punta Cana. Like that's all they do. Ashton School is their business is the school. So the project overall, Vistacana is very big. There's multiple communities, multiple developers. Absolutely, I believe in Vistacana. You need to be mindful though of who the developer is in Vistacana that you're going to work with. So just saying Vistacana doesn't mean you're getting the same experience. There's a lot of neighborhoods and communities in there. I know they do some work to vet developers. It doesn't mean that all the developers are great. So the key is if you're gonna invest in Vistacana, who is the builder that you're gonna work with in Vistacana and then run them through all of the things I talk about from a due diligence perspective, and you can watch videos on my channel about that. And again, tip of the spear on this is get a great realtor. Down below, you can click a link. I'll send you one that knows Vistacana inside and out and can get you with only the best developers. So click that link below, get a great realtor to guide you, get a great attorney as well. I've got one for you. Again, another link below. You can check that out. FYI, if you use either of them, they will compensate me for the referral. Juice Roll, I see him on Instagram. I always messes him. My bad, buddy. Sold my properties, have capital to pay off for Airbnb investment. Would you buy Cap Cana first? Okay, sold my properties, have capital to pay off for Airbnb investments. Would you buy Cap Cana first? I would say this. I would buy. Let me break it down this way. It's not about Cap Cana or not or whatever. What I would say is that Beachfront, if you can afford Beachfront, is going to be your best Airbnb property from a standpoint of occupancy and price per night, no doubt. The best ROI you're gonna get is gonna be near beach because the price comes significantly down from say an average of 700 grand on the beach to maybe 200 grand off beach. And if you're only a block or two walking distance, then that's a hell of a deal. You can probably get still very good occupancy, but your rent's a little lower that you get every day, but you get more of a return based on the price that you pay. But long term, anything beachfront or on beach is going to be number one. Whether that's in Cap Cana or not is less relevant. In fact, right now, Cortecito is the best by far Airbnb market. It's bustling, it's vibrant. People like to go there and kind of be amongst the locals. It's walkable to a bunch of restaurants. The beach is right there. It's easy to access, all of that. And that's why part of the reason why I wanted to buy in Cortecito and then found the deal I did with Boardwalk for $170,000 for a 1-bed. I have another link if you want it. You want to work with Boardwalk, click down below. Great developer. I fully endorse. I'm invested there. But I would say this, if you've got the money to buy Beachfront and Cap Cana, go for it. If you're looking at it and saying, well, I can get something in Cap Cana, but elsewhere like Cortecito or Corrales, I can get on beach or near beach for the same amount, I would go that way. The closer to the beach you are, the more money you're gonna make, the more stable your Airbnb is going to be. That's just facts. I did a whole video on this as well. Check it out on my channel. Now, for all you average men out there, there's no way that you would get somebody as beautiful as my wife, and I'm gonna prove it to you by showing her right here in this video as we go grocery shopping to see what above average men buy at the grocery store here in Punta Cana. Goodbye, average men.